People often ask me, what's the secret? And I tell them, it's not about luck. It's not in the bloodline. It's in what I choose to do every single morning, long before the world begins to stir. I'm 95. I live on my own, and I feel stronger, more balanced, more vibrant than many people half my age. That's not an accident. That's because I've shaped my mornings with deliberate intention at this age. I'm not dependent on anyone for daily tasks. I don't wake up feeling exhausted or disoriented. I rise with awareness, with energy, and with a quiet confidence about what lies ahead. There's nothing extraordinary about me. I simply built habits that nourish more than they drain. And now, I'd like to offer them to you, no matter if you're 45 or 85. It's never too late to reclaim your morning. These 5 practices shifted the way I move through life. They grounded me, they energized me, and they gave each day a sense of meaning. Let me show you how I remain focused, balanced, and joyful on my own terms. I don't leap out of bed like the world is on fire. I don't let a blaring alarm dictate the pace of my breath. I rise slowly, with care, because I've learned that how you start your morning sets the rhythm for everything that follows. I've discovered that direction, not urgency, is what brings order to the chaos of life. When you open your eyes, chasing a schedule, your body braces itself. But when you rise, guided by intention, your spirit begins to lead. At 95, I no longer have job deadlines, or school drop-offs, or a packed calendar. But I still rise early, not because I must, but because I choose to. That early silence, before the noise creeps in, has become sacred to me. I begin each day with a question, not what must I do, but what will make me feel alive today. It's a question that invites possibility, not pressure. Most people wake up thinking about tasks and errands and noise, but I wake up thinking about meaning. Maybe it's a walk through the garden. Maybe it's writing to someone I miss. Maybe it's just sitting in stillness and appreciating the morning light. Whatever it is, that small intention gives the day shape before it even begins. What many people forget is that energy is not just created by food, sleep, or medicine. Energy comes from purpose. When you have a reason to look forward, something to share, explore, or honor, your entire being responds. Your thoughts clear up. Your heart opens. Your body follows. Too often, we underestimate the quiet force of intention. We assume it must be something grand, a company, a goal, a legacy. But sometimes purpose is no more than choosing to water your plants with care or greeting someone with warmth. Purpose doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, but it's always present for those who listen. I didn't always start my mornings this way. In my younger years, I pressed snooze like everyone else. I rushed. I stumbled. I let the outside world set the pace of my inner world. But with time and you learn a lot. Over 9 decades I realized something vital. If you don't give your morning a reason to exist, the world will give it one for you. And it might not be the reason you want. Now, I choose the reason myself. I wake not because of anxiety, but because of hope. I see each morning as an open hand, offering a chance to grow, to give, to heal, to love, and I won't miss that chance. Not now, not ever so. If you're asking how to live long and live well, start here. Don't just wake up. Wake up with intention. Before anything else, before a single pill or a sip of coffee, I drink water. Every single day, without exception. Not cold, not flavored, not fancy. Just a tall glass of room temperature water with a slice of lemon. It's a ritual, a signal to my body. We begin again. People think energy comes from caffeine or sheer motivation. But after 95 years, I've learned something else. True energy begins from within, and it starts with water. After a night of rest, the body is thirsty. Cells are dry, the brain foggy, muscles stiff, organs sluggish. That glass of water is a switch. It reactivates everything. And the lemon, that's nature's little accelerator. It wakes up digestion, supports the liver, offers vitamin C, and transforms the ordinary into something almost ceremonial. I don't gulp it down like medicine. I sip it like I'm making a toast to life itself. Because, in a way, I am. It's the easiest, most cost-effective, and most overlooked habit of wellness. And yet, it's powerful. People ask me how I keep my skin healthy, how I stay mentally alert, how I avoid the common ailments of age, and I always start here. Hydration isn't just about health, it's about reverence. Reverence for the body that has carried you through the decades. Reverence for the gift of one more day. I watch younger folks stumble out of bed and reach for caffeine, trying to shake the heaviness. But they're not exhausted, they're dehydrated. They're trying to jumpstart an engine that's running dry. That's single-choice water, before anything else sets a tone. It says, I choose clarity over confusion. I choose nourishment before numbness. It's not loud, but it is powerful. And over time, those little choices become big outcomes. My skin still glows. My digestion still works. My memory still sharp. That didn't come from some magic supplement. It came from treating my body with consistency and care. This isn't some mystical secret. It's a habit, a humble, sacred, life-affirming habit, one that anyone, no matter their age, can begin tomorrow. So, before you reach for your phone or your caffeine or your vitamins, I invite you to try something simple, ancient, and deeply wise. Drink water. Drink it with presence, with gratitude, with respect. It might be the smallest change that brings the biggest shift. I stretch what still moves, and the beautiful part is everything still moves. Every morning, before the outside world has a chance to ask anything of me, I dedicate 10 quiet minutes to honoring the body that carries me. I stretch not because I'm training for anything, and not because I expect my limbs to move like they did at 25. I stretch because motion is a blessing, and blessings should never be taken for granted. At 95, I've seen what happens when people stop moving. Their world becomes smaller, their backs curve, their breath shortens, their confidence fades. I decided long ago that I wouldn't let that be my story. I vowed to keep what I've been given for as long as I can by showing up for it every day. My routine is not complicated. I don't need equipment or music or a fitness coach. All I need is a chair, a little room, and my breath. I roll my shoulders. I lift my arms toward the ceiling. I bend gently side to side. I rotate my wrists, my ankles, my hips. I move through every joint like I'm checking in with old friends. You still there? You still good? Let's keep going. Some mornings it's smooth. Other days, there's resistance. Sometimes I feel the tug of age, but I stretch anyway. Not out of stubbornness, but out of love. Because the body listens, the body responds, the body returns what you give it. I never force, I never push. I breathe into each movement. I let the stretch be a conversation, not a demand. A whisper that says, you still matter, you're still here. This daily ritual keeps me upright, balanced, and centered. It's more than a physical act, it's a spiritual one. Stretching reminds me that I'm not stuck, that I can still reach, still open up. Even when life tries to tighten around me, it keeps the blood moving, the joints oiled, the thoughts flowing. It's 10 minutes of gratitude, spoken not in words, but in motion. And you know what? My body still answers. It still shows up. It still surprises me. People ask, how do you move so well at your age? And I tell them the truth. I never stopped. I never gave up on the idea that I could move freely, even gently, even slowly. I refused the belief that getting older meant giving up. I held on to a deeper truth. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. This isn't about chasing youth. It's about preserving vitality. It's about saying to yourself, I still deserve to feel strong. And every breath, every stretch, every reach is a promise to myself that I'm not done yet, that this body is still capable of joy, of action, of life. Don't underestimate what 10 minutes can do. It can be the difference between stiffness and strength, between decline and resilience. Because when you move what still moves, you begin to realize so much more is still moving than you thought. Every morning, I stand before the mirror and I speak to myself with kindness, not to fake positivity, not to chase some trend, but because I've lived long enough to know this. The most powerful voice you hear all day is the one in your own mind. At 95, I refuse to be my own enemy. I've seen too many people let that voice tear them down before the sun even rises. I won't do it. Not anymore. I look into my own eyes that have witnessed birth and loss, beauty and pain, and I remind myself of one quiet truth. You've made it through every hard day. Every single one. That truth carries me. In my earlier years, I wasn't always gentle with myself. I'd see flaws in the mirror. I'd criticize. I'd believe the lies of self. But time has a way of sharpening what matters and softening what doesn't. And what I've come to understand is this: how you speak to yourself becomes the shape of your life. Call yourself broken, and you live broken. Call yourself too old, and you start acting like you've reached the end. But call yourself resilient, and you start walking taller. You start showing up. Kindness isn't weakness. It's the strongest armor there is. It shields you from bitterness. It allows you to soften even on hard days. When I speak gently to myself, I feel the shift. My breath deepens. My posture opens. My heart calms. Even if I'm facing something difficult, I choose my words carefully. I don't lie to myself, but I speak to the version of me I want to grow. And over time, those words become reality. That's the quiet power of self-talk. You are still here, and that matters more than anything. So if you're listening to this now, I invite you, speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love, with compassion, with patience, with truth. Every wrinkle, every scar, every ache you carry, they are not flaws. They are proof that you've walked through fire and come out standing. And the person in the mirror, they've been with you through it all. Treat them with respect. They've earned it. I eat to fuel, not to fill. That one choice has made all the difference. My breakfast isn't extravagant, but it's intentional. A bowl of oats, some fresh fruit, a spoon of yogurt, maybe a touch of honey. Simple, nourishing, sustaining. I.e. what my body needs, not what my habits or emotions crave. I've seen people use food as escape, as distraction, even as punishment. I choose to see food as sacred, as fuel. Just like you wouldn't put the wrong oil into an engine and expect it to run smoothly, I won't pour processed food into my body and expect it to feel vibrant at this age. Everything becomes more precious, your energy, your digestion, your focus. So every bite matters. I pay attention. I listen to what my body actually asks for, not what advertising tells me I want. I'm not saying I don't enjoy eating, yeah I do, but I enjoy it with intention. I slow down. I chew with gratitude. Because when food becomes nourishment instead of numbness, everything shifts: your mind, your spirit, your health. Eating this way isn't about restriction. It's about wisdom. It's knowing that a handful of nuts supports me more than a handful of chips. That fruit awakens my brain better than sugar ever could. I eat as someone who wants to thrive, not just survive. And the rewards: clear thoughts, steady energy, comfortable movement. My joints don't ache like they should. My eyes still sparkle. My digestion is kind to me. That didn't happen overnight. It happened because I began feeding my future instead of just filling my now. So that next time you sit down to eat, ask yourself, is this fueling me? If the answer is yes, then you are not just eating, you are choosing life every single day. I keep my mind moving because I believe that where the mind goes, the body follows. And if your thoughts start slowing down, your life does too. At 95, I don't believe mental clarity is a coincidence. It's a discipline. So I give my brain a reason to stay alive and alert. Sometimes I read something thoughtful, a paragraph, a quote, even a few lines of poetry. Sometimes I write, not long pages, just reflections, a moment from yesterday, a lesson I remember, or a question I'm still exploring. Other mornings, I recite a poem I've known since youth, not because I need to, but because I still can, and that reminder is precious. These rituals are more than habits, they are mental stretches. They pull the mind open. They say, wake up, don't stop here. Now and then, I'll sit with a crossword puzzle, not for entertainment, for engagement, to let my brain know, you're still being used. You still matter. You're not fading, you're adapting. I don't do this to keep busy. I do it to stay awake, to stay lit from within, because I've seen what happens when people stop feeding their minds. The spark dims, the curiosity vanishes. Life gets narrow. But I've also seen what happens when someone asks a new question, hears a beautiful idea, or learns a skill they didn't think they could. Something inside them ignites. That's what I chase. That flicker, that quiet fire. I don't believe aging is decline. I believe it's a practice, a daily practice of mental movement, of inner stretching, of curiosity. Because the mind, like the body, must be used to be preserved. When you stop feeding it, it slows. But when you offer it something nourishing, words, music, wonder, wakes thoughts, so I keep my thoughts moving. I feed my imagination. I stay open to surprise. Because as long as you're still curious, you're still growing. And when the mind expands, the spirit rises with it. Too many people put their attention only on their physical health. They forget the mind needs care too. But I'm here to tell you, your thoughts create your world. Keep them sharp, keep them fresh, keep them kind, and your days will never grow dull. I breathe deeply before I do anything else. Not as a spiritual routine or a health hack, but because after nearly a century on this earth, I've learned that calm is not something you find. Calm is something you choose. Each morning, before the world rushes in, I sit, feet grounded, spine straight, eyes closed or softly focused. I take slow, deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. I don't try to control anything, not the day, not my mind, not my feelings. I simply center myself in the space between thoughts, that quiet place within, just 5 minutes, sometimes 10, that's all. And already, the day feels different, more grounded, more spacious. Deep breathing is one of the most overlooked gifts we have. It slows the heart, clears the fog, loosens tension that we don't even know we're carrying. Life doesn't get quieter, but you can. That's what I've learned. You can choose your stillness, even if the world stays loud. We take the breath for granted, because it happens automatically. But when you place your attention on it, even briefly, it becomes a bridge. A return, a reminder that you're here, alive. At 95, I no longer jump into the day. I enter it like you would enter a sacred space, with care, with awareness, with reverence. And breath is the key. It brings me back to something ancient, something unshakable. It reminds me that no matter the aches, no matter the world's weight, there is peace within reach. This pause before the day begins, it's a gift I give myself. A moment to remember who I am before the world tells me who to be. A moment to know I am not just age or task or role. I am life. I am stillness. I am breath. And when I move from that space, the rest of the day flows differently. I speak slower. I listen deeper. I walk softer. So no matter how old you are, no matter your stage of life, take a few minutes to sit with your breath. Not just to stay alive, but to feel alive. Because sometimes the wisest thing you can do is become still enough to hear your own soul whisper, "You're ready. Let's begin." I focus on what I can do, not on the pain, not on what's missing. not on the changes I didn't ask for. I fix my gaze on what remains strong, what still functions, what still sparkles inside me. That mindset, it has been my greatest anchor. At 95, there are plenty of things that have changed. My knees don't like stairs. My hearing isn't as crisp. I move slower than I used to. But here's what I know deep down. If you stare at what's gone too long, you'll miss the miracles that are still present. And there are always miracles. I wake up and move my fingers. I stretch my toes. I open my eyes and take in the light. I smile at the start of the day. That alone is enough to be grateful for. Focusing on what still works doesn't mean I ignore discomfort or pretend every day is easy. It means I refuse to let difficulty become my identity. Instead of lamenting the strength I once had, I celebrate the strength I still hold. The quiet kind, the inner kind. The kind built not of muscle but of endurance, of presence, of perspective. I still cook. I still read. I still learn. I still laugh. I still love. That's more than enough to build a beautiful day from. Gratitude is a kind of medicine. It doesn't remove the pain, but it transforms the experience. It changes how you carry it. I believe this with my entire being. Where your attention goes, energy follows. If you only look at what's wrong, life begins to feel broken. But if you choose to look at what's right, what's good, what's possible, you begin to feel whole again. That's how I stay strong inside. I trained my eyes to find hope. I trained my heart to find joy in small things, a bird on the windowsill, the way tea warms my hands, the ease of one long, satisfying breath. Life doesn't have to be loud to be beautiful. Sometimes the softest moments are the most profound. So no matter your age, or your aches, or your limitations, try what I do every morning. Focus on what's still alive in you. Let that become your fuel. Let that be your light. It's not about doing everything. It's about doing something with love. I keep a gratitude journal, not a to-do list. And that single shift has brought me more peace than any calendar, app, or planner ever could. Each morning, before I glance at the news, before I check the weather, before I even think about the day's tasks, I reach for a small notebook and jot down 3 things I'm thankful for. Just 3. Some mornings it's something big, my health, my family, another chance to wake up. Other times, it's small, the color of the morning sky, the softness of my blanket, the scent of warm toast. It doesn't matter how grand or how simple. What matters is the act itself, the discipline of looking for what's good. There was a time when I used to wake up and immediately dive into solving problems. I'd let worry dictate the direction of my day. But I've learned over many years that what you focus on first tends to shape everything that follows. So, instead of starting with demands, I start with appreciation. That one decision changes the entire atmosphere of the morning. It teaches the mind to scan for beauty. It trains the heart to notice the small joys that are already present. Because joy, I've learned, isn't something we wait for, it's something we notice. The more we practice noticing it, the more it shows up. At this point in life, I've come to understand, time is too precious to waste on mental clutter. Yes, I still accomplish things. I still stay organized. But more than productivity, I value presence. My gratitude list is my way of grounding myself. It reminds me on hard days, especially, that even in the struggle, there is something worth acknowledging, something still shining. That quiet act of recognition shifts how I move through the world. I speak more gently. I walk more mindfully. I listen with more patience. Gratitude doesn't erase life's hardships, but it reframes them. It says, yes, this is hard, but look, here is something beautiful, too. That mindset has been my compass. So, if you find yourself overwhelmed, scattered, unsure of where to begin, try this. Don't list your obligations. List your blessings. They are the truest starting point you have. What you choose to see grows stronger. A day rooted in thankfulness is already a day well lived, and I laugh, even when no one else is around. I laugh not because everything is perfect, but because I've discovered that joy doesn't need permission. Laughter is a form of medicine that doesn't come in a bottle, and it's one I prescribe myself daily. At 95, I've lived through joyandloss.com and storm, and through it all, I've learned this. Laughter is not just a response to happiness, tea can also be the creator of it. Before I eat, before I check the time, I find something to smile about. A memory, a funny thought, a silly image from the past. Sometimes it's as subtle as the way the light hits the corner of the wall, like a quiet joke from the universe. That smile, that little chuckle, it's not for show. It's not performance. It's medicine for the soul. It tells my body, you are still in love with life. Laughter softens everything's fears, tension, sadness. It doesn't erase them, but it eases their grip. It lightens the mood before the day even begins. And in a world that often feels heavy, that lightness is a gift. Too many people wait to laugh. They wait for the perfect moment, the right conditions, someone else to give them a reason. But in doing so, they miss countless small opportunities to smile, to let go, to breathe joy in. I don't need a comedian or a crowd. My laughter comes from within. Sometimes it's a mental picture of my grandchildren making faces. Sometimes it's a memory of a shared joke with someone who's no longer here. That memory brings a tear and then a smile. Laughter, to me, is a declaration. It says, despite everything, I still choose joy. Despite loss, I still choose light. Despite the years, I still feel young in spirit. It's a quiet form of defiance, a way of saying, I'm still here, and I still know how to dance. So laugh. Laugh loudly. Laugh softly. Laugh when it doesn't make sense. Because when you do, you remind yourself that the fire is still burning, that your heart hasn't forgotten how to rise. When people ask, what's your secret? I tell them, it's not magic. It's not genes. It's not some ancient secret tucked away in a book. It's what I choose to do each morning, long before the rest of the world opens its eyes. I'm 95. I live alone. I live well. I live with purpose. I don't rely on others to keep me going. I don't rise feeling broken or confused. I rise with direction, with energy, with clarity. I'm not special. I simply made a choice to build a morning that gives more than it takes. And those choices, repeated day after day, became a foundation. Now I offer that to you. Whether you're 40 or 80, whether you feel like you're just starting or nearing the end, know this: it's never too late to begin living with intention. These small, daily habits, they're not about discipline alone. They're about designing a life that supports your spirit. That's how I stay alert, active, and at peace on my own terms. I don't wake like I'm chasing something. I rise as though I'm answering something. A quiet call to be present, to be grateful, to be alive. The alarm doesn't rule me. The world doesn't shake me. I begin slowly, with care. Because how you begin the morning echoes through everything that follows. If you wake up in chaos, you carry chaos with you. But if you wake in stillness, you carry peace. And peace, in this noisy world, is power. I believe every morning is a quiet invitation to grow, to give, to love, to return to your own center, and that's a gift I no longer take for granted. Not at this age, not at any age. So let me leave you with this. Don't just wake up on purpose.